The first robbery I ever did was a setup. The owner of the jewelry store wanted to be robbed. I got the jewelry, he got the insurance money. That really helped me a lot. I knew little nuances. Like he said, hey, listen, I don't put the jewelry in the safe. It's going to be here. I was always very calculating.
How long did you case a store?
I've cased stores for over a month. When you're talking about $1 million or $2 million or $5 million, you better be fucking right on everything you're doing. You're not, the FBI said to me, they go, Larry, you're the best we've ever seen do it. Why didn't you quit? I look at it like people always say, did you stash your money? Gangsters don't do that. John Gotti once said, if I found a gangster with a 401k, I'm going to kill him. Because if you have a 401k, that means you're looking to retire and you fucking got something to lose and you're going to rat. In this life, you don't get out. Every day could be up or down. It could be death or it could be survival. It's just a different life. I did not notice either that every time I did a robbery that was the same MO, they would flood the area with 20 agents from the FBI. They confiscated every camera within so many miles of that robbery. They never had the money to track me down. They couldn't follow. They couldn't do it. I bought a city, literally corrupted a whole city, rigged an election, bought 2 councilmen. I robbed. Man, I remember when I was counting. I stopped at 24, 5s. I forgot. I mean, really. I was in maximum security prison. The worst of the fucking worst. Sexuality in prison, you see that all the time. You see guys get a wife. A guy would tattoo his lips and become a woman. We had one called the Black Widow that fucking killed 2 of her partners, and now you're dealing with killers. Listen, I tell people, you want respect, go to prison. Because here's what happened. If you bump into someone in prison and you don't say, excuse me, you just might die that day. I never, ever slept past 6 a.m. because that's where they're going to get you. When they open those doors, if you're sleeping nice, comfy, how do you know you didn't piss someone off the night before? The Aryan Brotherhood is the worst prison gang, period. They're killers. The Aryan Brotherhood are so fucking out there that they won't put more than 4 of them on 1 yard at a time.
Now, make no mistake, we all have a weak side also, because I know you have some experience with torturing people. And I think that, is it true that at a certain point, everybody talks? Like, and all that tough guy shit goes out the window at some point?
Let me tell you something. I tell this to everybody. If I want something from you, there isn't a chance in this world you don't give it to me. I literally was going crazy. I watched a man, he was in the hole for extended periods of time like I was, and he went crazy. You're at the low of low in life. The low of low. I had my friend kill himself in front of me and tell me he was going to do it and do it.
So what I want to say is,
making the money is everything. I tell that to everybody. I don't care who you are. I made a lot of money. When I'm giving envelopes to my boss at $50,000, $30,000, a few times a year, 3-4 times a year, he gets an envelope and diamonds. I remember doing some things that would get you killed, just dead. And he backed me on them, on a sit down, they call it a sit down. I smacked somebody who shouldn't. It was a made man. It's hard to explain how that works. But he was a made man in a mob, and I didn't know it. And he was down South Florida, which is an open area, they call it. And the guy was disrespecting a barmaid that she was a great girl. And she used to hide coke for me. This, but fuck her. Good girl. She was good. And I wouldn't let that happen. And me and a friend, we were going to we smacked this guy. And I told him we were going to put him in a 55-gallon drum and fucking never see it again. And well, forgot about it. It's gone, right? I go to New York 8 months later. I'm in New York City. I'm in our club. In comes this guy. This guy's a made man. He's a very powerful guy. And I'm going to kill him. And he starts yelling. And now the place is all full of our guys. It's our club. And fucking my boss called the big boss. And before you know it, and this guy was just, the stars were aligned because if this guy played his cards right, I was dead. But he didn't. And he pissed off my boss, and you did not want to piss him off. He was actually part of Murder Incorporated. That back in the old days, they had Albert Anastasia was a mob boss who founded what they call Murder Incorporated. And literally, they would murder for all the families. It was like, they'd have a commission and they'd say, okay, he got to go. And this group would take care of it, called Murder Incorporated. Well, my boss was one of those guys. He was a killer, straight killer. And very respected, very feared. He loved me for some reason, and he was a little guy and he'd walk down there and he'd go, you, come here, you know what I mean? And he was like, he made me smile because he'd come in, I'd give an envelope, when I'd go up there and I'd give him some diamonds. And he goes, looks good. Be careful, kid. Be careful, kid. And take, and listen, people say, why did you do that? Why did you have to pay people? What? Because I'm smart enough to know that if I wasn't associated with a family, one of the other families would take me, and guess what? They would get what the fuck they want. Like I said, I would get what I want from anybody. I've done that. You listen to me. If I got you in the basement and I'm going to get something out of you, trust me, there's not a fucking thing you can do about it. And I love this, I'm so badass I could take it. No, there's ways to prolong it. There's, I don't want to get into the sick shit. You're a different person because you are really leadership material. I would not put you in a fuck. Although, as I tell everybody, he works here too. When you work for somebody, you do something. Because, one thing I did learn in life, young, and I dealt with the mobsters. So you had to, I tell these kids today, today you get fired. Today you leave the military. Fucking my day, you fuck up, you get fucking a bullet in the head. And that's not a joke. It happens many, many times. And it's just the life we live.
Were there some rules with your wives as it regards to like communicating with you when you were in the mafia?
My first wife was never allowed to ever beat me. Back then they had beepers. They couldn't beat me or call the bar certain times. I don't give a fuck unless my son died. Something has to be off the charts. It can't be, where were you? Listen, we were all swingers anyway, so there was never a sex problem.
But you mentioned sexuality in prison after a while, especially when you have guys that been there for decades and that will be there forever. Do you become also when you start to really not giving a fuck anymore, right? Do you start becoming more open sexually? Like, did you see that with the guys, even with the tough ones? Do you know what I mean? They just don't care anymore.
Totally sexuality in prison. You see that all the time. You see guys get a wife. A guy would tattoo his lips, tattoo blush, red, tattoo eyebrows, like shave tattoo, and become a woman. I've been to a wedding in prison. They'll tattoo. Now, listen, I don't care, but me, I would look like a fucking horrendous woman. Me, I fucking wouldn't look good at all. But,
But are these guys that become wives? Are they actually like are they like seen as inferior? Do people fuck with them, or do they actually have power over these people? Because right?
yeah. Well, we had one called the Black Widow that fucking killed two of her partners. Fucking. There's one that you look from behind and go, holy fuck, I swear it was a woman, I mean, I couldn't fucking tell, you couldn't tell no matter what, but no, you do see it, you see it a lot, it's kind of common, it's untold, like unheard of, and now you're dealing with killers. Listen, that guy, I tell people, you want respect, go to prison, because here's what happens. If you bump into someone in prison and you don't say, excuse me, you just might die that day. And I'm not talking about little prison. I'm talking about, I was in maximum security prison. The worst of the fucking worst. We had one prison I was in, we had 880 lifers. 880 with letters, they call it. Never, ever getting out. Never. We had about 2,000 inmates. Out of the 880, 200 fight their case legally. I was facing life in the beginning. I fought my case. I won my gun charge. That's why I did 12 years straight, but I was facing life and I beat the gun charge. If I don't beat the gun charge, I'm not talking to you right now. I'm in there fucking somebody, but or getting fucked. Now what happens is, as you know, these people have nothing to lose. It's an environment. I flourished in it because that's who I am. It's so much nicer out here when I can get up anytime I want, go to my refrigerator, go here, go get a drink, go to dinner, go whatever I want. And you know, I don't take that for granted anymore. You know, there was a time when, and most people do because they've never been to the worst of the worst like I was, or had the best of the best. You know, it's hard to tell a young person it's not about money. Try to tell that to some guy who's struggling, working, and he sees you in a limousine and, you know, you're fucking partying and fucking this and that. Money always helps. I mean, makes misery fucking a lot better. That's why I try to tell it. But it sure does not make you happy, because I was very wealthy and I was happy. I think I'm happier now. I look at it like people always say, did you stash your money? Gangsters don't do that. They never did that. John Gotti once said, if I found a gangster with a 401k, I'm going to kill him. Because if you have a 401k, that means you're looking to retire and you fucking got something to lose and you're going to rat, for sure. In this life, you don't get out. If you got a 401k, all of a sudden you're getting close to retirement, the fucking feds come to you and all of a sudden you're fucking singing like a canary because you don't want to lose your 401k. You got money now, you got this, you're home, you're living a nice life. That life we lived was a very emotional life, you know. Every day could be up or down. It could be death or it could be survival, you know. I mean, it's just a different life. And I don't ever want my kids, you know, to have, no mobster wants their kids to do that life, obviously. You know, we want to impart some of the knowledge, some of the structure, some of the things were very good. I do a lesson to this day. I do it to all my people who work for me. I learned this lesson from my boss. One day, I'm in New York, I'm in Florida. Now, Brooklyn is our crew. I'm in Florida. And I'll tell you what, where, you know, I'm making tons of money. I have 2 nightclubs, vending machine company, fucking robbing jewelry stores. Fucking money was nothing. There's millions, you know. I get a phone call one day. It's my boss. It says, it was a Thursday. I'll never forget that. He says, Larry, be here tomorrow. Cards with Dominic at 9. Click, click, hang up. That's it. I got on the next plane. Literally, that morning, the first flight out was 6 a.m. First flight out. They always sent the car for me to Kennedy Airport, and the guy would give me a gun because they, you know, it was our cab company. We owned it, so it was my way car service. So guy would get me. I'd get out of the plane. Back then, there was no fucking IDs, none of this TSA shit, none of this crap. So I would get in. I would get in the cab. He'd wait for me. Hey, Larry, get in the car. Give me a gun. So I get on the plane. I get there. Every Friday morning, Dominic. Now, that's the little guy I told you, the little boss. He was the boss. He was the captain. Now he's the captain. Now, he had a guy under him, was my boss, which is a made man, and it's the weep. So, and then it's me, associates. So, then you have the maid, then you have the captain, then you have the boss, you know, underboss, and all that bullshit. So, Dominic would come in every Friday, and we played. This guy owned the 3rd largest bus company in the world. He owned Atlantic Express. He had Trailways and Greyhound. You heard of Greyhound buses and Trailways. Those are the 2 big ones. And then him, Atlantic Express. He had all the buses going to Atlantic City, school buses in New York, everything. He would bitch when he lost $100 in rummy, you know. But he was so funny. So we play gin rummy all day, and he'd have meetings with people. Sometimes he'd tell you to go like that, and you'd have to leave. Sometimes you sit there until he says anything, and you'll listen to everything on. Shut your fucking mouth. You don't do anything. So every Friday night, the crew would go to a place called Lawton, a restaurant. This is right out of the movies. We'd pull up on that sidewalk, get out of the car. We had a table with 10 of us right near an exit in case someone came in shooting. You know what I mean? It was like fucking out of the movies. So that night, we all go to dinner. There's only certain people, but about 10 of us, 8 of us, whatever. We go to the big dinner. That night, we play cards usually up in the, now we're playing big time poker up in above the apartment, above the club. So we did that. And then that night, Dominic says to me, hey, have a safe trip back, kid. Love you, blah, blah. That's it. 6 months later, I asked him, hey, Willie is my boss. I said, you remember Dominic called me that day? What the fuck was that about? Because you don't know, but you passed a big test. What the fuck you mean? He goes, Dominic was testing. He was testing me. He was testing me by making sure I wasn't getting too big for my britches. When they called, I didn't say, oh, shit, Dom, I got a party to go to Friday. Can I come Saturday? Sure, no problem. Can I come Sunday? How about I got a big function. No, I fucking said, yes, sir, got on a fucking plane and fucking went there and asked no questions. That was the life I lived. And it was a great lesson that I teach to my guys to this day. I did this once to a kid who worked for me, Junior. I had 2 rules. If I beep you, if you don't answer your beeper when I call you, I don't give a fuck when it is. You better be dead or in jail. No other fucking reason not to answer my beeper. Because I might need you at a time we don't know. So one time I beeped Junior. It was like 4 a.m. No answer. Part of me's worried. Is he arrested? Something happened. Blah, 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 blah. I had a clubhouse like I built. Like it was in like a warehouse. We even robbed the 5-ton air conditioner, put that on a roof. We built it out. Oh my God, did we do shit? The FBI goes, holy shit. I walk in and I fucking had a 357. Big fucking 350, silver 350. I used to carry a Glock and a 350. He was laying in the bed. Like we had a pull-out couch where the bookmaking was, the operation. He's laying in there. I walk in, it's quiet. Oh, I see him. I'm fucking pissed as a motherfucker. I take out the fucking gun, point it right next to his head, not, like a foot away from his head. I shoot 3 shots. He goes through the fucking, he's scared shit. He's thinking I'm going to kill him. And it's a good thought. Of course, I didn't. And he learned a great lesson. And matter of fact, he says, I use that today. He uses that now. There's certain things you could teach somebody along the way that was taught to me.
What would happen if you didn't go when they called you?
I would be really and probably never know. I could get killed at another time. Something happens, they're going to think you might have said something. It could be a lot of things. I was always smart enough to make sure that, you work for somebody, you work for that person. I worked for Dominic and Willie, my boss, and I was a big earner, and they let me earn. That was important. But if I did not show up, or if I gave an excuse, I don't know what, maybe nothing could happen. I doubt it. I was too powerful. I was making too much money. They're not going to let that stop.
But, okay, you said the Mafia, but what was the worst prison gang that you came across? Because I heard you talk about prison gangs before, but which one is the toughest? The toughest one?
Well, you're going to get a lot of push. Now, I put something online, and most people agree, but some don't. Of course, they say MA. The Aryan Brotherhood is the worst prison gang, period. I mean, they're killers. Every one of them. Every fucking one of them are murderers. Every one of them. They will cut your fucking head off. They did a killing they killed 4 guys in Lewisburg Penitentiary. And it was a bloodbath. I mean, matter of fact, they're so bad. Now, this is the United States prison system. And you can look it up online. The Aryan Brotherhood are so fucking out there that they won't put more than 4 of them on 1 yard at a time.
Is something interfering with your happiness or preventing you from achieving your goals? Starting therapy can be hard. The right therapist for you may not be in your area. BetterHelp is now sponsoring this podcast. BetterHelp connects you with a licensed therapist who is trained to listen and give you helpful, unbiased advice. With BetterHelp, you can have your therapy session as a phone call, as a video chat, or even via messaging if you prefer that. If you think you might benefit from therapy, consider BetterHelp. Click the link in the description or visit betterhelp.com/Captainese. Clicking that link helps you support this channel, and it also gives you a 10% off your first month of BetterHelp so you can connect with a therapist and see if it helps you. Again, go to betterhelp.com/Captainese. Clicking that link gives you 10% off your first month of therapy.
Well, what's fascinating about the Aryan Brotherhood is how they manipulate perception, right? So their ideology, white supremacy, brotherhood, all the tattoos and the symbols, that's not the real engine. It's a tool. So it's a framework to control behavior, to make people believe they're a part of something bigger, while the leadership quietly pulls the strings. And it's profit marked as loyalty, basically, is what it is. And also leaders operate from solitary confinement, completely isolated, but the influence spreads across the entire prison population and network. So I think it's a proof that authority isn't about visibility, it's about creating a belief and an expectation in others. And it also creates this mystery, so it can be turned into a feature, not a bug. The solitary confinement, I mean, oftentimes people ask, how do they operate out of a hole? Like they're totally isolated. Yeah, it is a feature, and they're also masters of reputation management. The Aryan Brotherhood got the war psychology down very good. Because often they don't even have to act violently. Just the possibility of violence, the stories whispered down the line is enough to make people comply. And it's genius in its own dark way. They've created a system where belief and fear and perception are actually more powerful than the numbers or brute force. So it forces you to realize that control isn't about what you do, it's about what others think you can do.
They are fucking badass motherfuckers. I knew a bunch of them. And I used to be, when I was in prison, for the audience, the shot caller is a person who leads that group. If it's the white boys, it could be, who's that shot caller of the white guys, or the Aryan Brotherhood, whatever, Aryan Nation, Dirty White Boys, yet there's G27, whatever group there is or gang, they have what they call a shot caller. Now, that guy's, you go to him. So in prison, they're good. The shot callers, obviously, in prison. Now, you had us guys. You had the mob. They were one group, if you want to call it that. And it's funny because I hated it. Because it's all politics, I called it. It's some bullshit. Hey, don't talk to him. Get the fuck out of here. I'm trying to fucking survive prison. I don't want to fuck my cellie. What do I give a fuck about him? But, I'm just trying to... It's a different mindset. But Aryan Brother, maybe next would be the MA, they call them, which is the Mexican Mafia. And they're pretty bad. I mean, I could sit here and Latin Kings, G27, Yetas, Dirty White Boys, Aryan Brother, Aryan Circle, Aryan Nation, DWB, and then, of course, MA, Border Brothers, Texas Syndicate. Then you have the Crips, the Bloods, the GD, Gangster Disciples, and different black gangs. The whole fucking place, but here's what I had it good. I did legal work. I got my law degree in prison, and I did a lot of legal work. My buddy Paulie, great fucking guy. Not as crazy as me, but crazy. He did 27 years legally, had a baby while he was in prison. You ask him about that, that's pretty wild. He had to smuggle sperm out and all that shit. Holy fuck, right? Anyway, so Tellini and I did legal work. So what I did was all the shot callers would come to me and say, hey, La, do me a favor, man. What do you need? Check this guy out for us. And they would I say, give me his social security number, give me his town where he lived, and give me his DOB, date of birth. And when they did that, I was able to, what they call, put a FOIA request, which is a Freedom of Information Act. So let's just say you live right here where I live, and you come to prison, and you're a white guy and you want to hang with us, right? And or you say you did this, whatever, because there's no paperwork in there. They don't let that. So all of a sudden they say, "Hey, check out. You got to see. What's the deal?" I get all that information. You know what I do? Every police department around this area, I pull your name. In 5 years, if there's nothing happened in 5 years, they have to give me a FOIA. It's Freedom of Information. They have to give it to me. So let's just say you were 17, 19. I don't care. You get stopped in your car. You got a joint in the car. Cop says, "Listen to me, Ushka. All I want you to do is just tell me where you got that. I'll forget your name." You say, fuck it. Okay, I got it from Larry. The cop writes that down. You ever notice a cop never leaves before you do when you leave a traffic stop? Oh, notice that the next time you see a cop or you get stopped, anybody, you'll leave first. They don't leave. And that's because they're writing everything down. And what they do is they have to fill out that report. So they're going to write down, Ushka said, had a joint, let her go. Larry Lawton gave her the joint, and he sends it to the narcotics division. Nothing comes of it. Fuck it, Larry's a small fry. They don't give a shit, right? 7 years later, you go to prison. I pull your shit. That's coming up. And now you're fucked. Because now you're a rat. And everybody's going to know, and that whole fucking, they're going to fuck you up. Throw you off a tier, fucking fuck your head up. Or your child molester, of course, they're not well, received. Anybody who fucks with kids, I can't deal with. Kids are elderly. That just pisses me off. That's the worst of the worst. Rats too, but really fucking with a child and fucking with a disabled, elderly person. Someone who doesn't have the faculties. You want to fuck, like I said, fuck with a man, fuck with me, fuck with you. You're pretty bad. I bet you'll kick their ass.
Probably.
So I look at it like I was pulling paperwork for all the gangs. And I see some crazy shit when I did that. I mean, guys thrown off tiers, fucking bad. But these guys were bad too. They were child molesters or rats, I mean, the worst of the worst, And so I hate to say this, but I justify my life by always saying I never hurt anybody who wasn't in my business. And that's true. I didn't hurt civilians. I never hurt a jewelry store owner or a wedding shop owner that we robbed. And I never tied the old people up, never did let them. Matter of fact, one old couple, I did a robbery, and it's in the book. It said, he was a nice guy. That's what they interviewed the couple. Because I wouldn't let them sit down. They walked in on a robbery. And I said, "Come here." Oh, I'm sorry. No. I says, come with me. Sit in this chair, just look at the wall. When I leave, give me 5 minutes. I don't tie him up. Don't get never. Okay. In fact, the idiot I had with me fucking came around too quick. Had to go back, in and out of the back door like a fucking yo-yo. I yelled at it. Anyway, the couple was interviewed by the news, and they said, "Oh, he was a nice guy. I just robbed him for $1 million. Not them, the store, but I never robbed a ring off a person. Like if you walked in and you had a ring, grandmother's, I left it there.
You know what's really interesting? You know what's interesting? It's when criminals commit crimes, like oftentimes they are committing this fucking big ass crime, but then they have a rule, and it's like very specific and almost kind of funny. Like you had never take a ring off of a person. We just like you rob $1 million. Like when I was shoplift, like I could literally shoplift a whole bunch of merchandise, but if someone dropped like a $5 on the ground, like I would literally pick it up and give it back to them.
Were you a booster? Were you a booster?
I was not that far into it, no. But I was like, I'm not gonna brag, but I was pretty fucking good. Like the best thing was I had it down to a science, just like you did, right? And the best thing was I remember the best thing was also when they had security guards in the store. Like, people may think, okay, there's a security guard, that's a deterrent. No, it's, you know what? As a matter of fact, it's even better because now I know exactly where the fuck you are, and I know where you move. Like, it's perfect. And I think you talked about this the when they had to buzz you in, and that's when I had this it's kind of comparable because you would have think, yeah, when they buzzed you in, you would have think that's a bad thing, but it was actually a feature, not a bug, right?
I loved it. That's when anybody else coming in, I buzz them in. And when I buzz them in, they're in on a robbery, I mean,
How long did you case a store?
oh, sure. It depends. Mm, I've cased stores for over a month and a half, 6 weeks, 8 weeks even. Oh, yeah. When you're talking about $1 million, when you're talking about $1 million or $2 million or $5 million, you better be fucking right on everything you're doing. You're not. It's pretty
I love to
wild,
read.
though. I mean, it's a wild ride. I'm just telling you, it's a wild ride. I was a bad guy. I had my judge friend say, "Man, you only got caught for fucking 10% of what you ever did." I said probably less than that, and he laughed.
Really,
But
why were you so good? Why were you so good? Because you hit like 20 jewelry stores and you walked away with something like 15 to 18 million dollars.
more than that, 25, 30, 30 maybe 30.
What do you think distinguished you from your regular or jewelry robber? Like, was it the planning, or was it like certain things that that the other people didn't think of when it came to planning?
Yeah, a couple things. I think great questions, man. You come up with good questions. You're a smart woman. The
Because I'm interested.
but some people just don't. You come up with different stuff, and that's rare. After all the shit I've done, the the first robbery I ever did was a setup. The insurance, the owner of the jewelry store wanted to be robbed,
Oh,
and I got the jewelry, he got the insurance money, and big things were happening. That really helped me a lot because I knew little nuances. Like he said, "Hey, listen, I don't put the jewelry in the safe. It's going to be here." Most of us don't do that. We have buzzers over here, so if she's not over there, you'll know that. So a few things I got, and then after that, I was always very calculating. I mean, as far as crime, even with my bookmaking operation and everything else I had, uh, I really calculated the positives, the negatives. Listen, like you said earlier, we all know we're going to get caught or something's going to happen. You're going to be dead or in jail. The FBI agent, Matt Mullen, never forget me, just died too. Good guy. Was a good guy. He says, "Larry, you're the best I ever see. I'm retiring now." He actually said that to me. He was looking for me for 6 years or 7 years. He knew my MO, didn't know who I was. They knew it. I did not notice either that every time I did a robbery that was the same MO, they would flood the area with 20 agents from the FBI. They confiscated every camera from every, like, 7-Eleven, all the little stores, the coffee shops. They confiscated cameras from all of them within so many miles of that robbery. I mean, the FBI don't play, man. Anybody tells you, "No, I'm smart," no, you're not. No, you're not. You don't have the money. Fuck the police. ATF, DEA, FBI, I'm scared. Those are the fuckers that got the money. If the guy who's looking for you dies, they gotta put another fucking guy in his place and fucking run with that shit. Local police don't have the money. They never had the money to track me down. They couldn't follow. They couldn't do. I'd bought a city, literally corrupted a whole city, rigged an election, bought 2 councilmen. I mean, that was my. But robbery wise, I robbed. Man, I remember when I was counting. I stopped at 24 fives. I forgot. I mean, really, really, that many. It was over 30s, and the real number's probably 30 to 40 million. But I got taxed on what they fucking hit me. They literally. I don't care what everybody knows now. Obviously, I mean it's and the statute of limitations is up, but they you know about those, right? I don't know. Do you have statute of limitations in your country?
Of course, that's why I'm talking about it. Otherwise, I'd be quiet as fuck.
I will bet your country is a lot better criminal. You told me a guy got caught murder and rape and got 20 years.
Yeah, you know what? Thank God we focus on rehabilitation more than just keeping people in.
I agree with you, and I am very happy to hear that. I really am. It pisses me to fuck off when this country I live in, and I always love it, but I also fucking get mad at it. This country tells any other country about human rights. That pisses me to fuck off. Who the fuck are we to tell anybody about human rights when we're incarcerating our own citizens at a rate fucking 10 times higher than most countries? Time-wise, we disregard life. And we're telling another country, whether it's China, oh, your human rights are no good. Who the fuck are we to do that?
You guys in the US have a debt that has grown to 1 trillion in the past 3 months, while your economy only grew by 5.5 trillion in the past 3 years. How's that one for you? I can offer you a degree of safety against inflation. You can now be less miserable about the prices, which seem to always rise more than expected, as the inflation just won't go away. Look, the government isn't going to take care of you, so forget the protests and do it yourself. Take matters into your own hands is what successful people do. I decided to help my audience shelter their assets and diversify them into gold, which is something that has always been used by the rich to preserve wealth throughout the history. Birch Gold Group makes the process straightforward. They can help you convert your existing IRA or a 401k account into a tax advantaged physical gold IRA without any of the out pocket costs. Just text Captainese to 989898 and receive their free info kit on gold IRAs that is packed with insider information on how gold and silver can protect your savings. I've checked out their references before partnering with them, and their endorsements include Ben Shapiro, Jordan Peterson, and Ron Paul, and I trust these people. With an A-plus rating with the Better Business Bureau, Gold now has 5-star reviews and thousands of happy customers. Birch Gold Group is the nation's #1 gold IRA provider. To learn more, text Captainese to 989898 and claim your free info kit on gold IRAs. You also have the link in the description below.
Yeah, these people in prison are definitely, they're not rehabilitating. I watched a documentary on like the death row, and these people are just actually, what was like obviously you have more experience with this than me. What was the most the extreme loss of the will to live in prison that you saw? Like, have you met someone who's been like, they were on drugs already, they didn't give a fuck anymore, like they owed money but they didn't care anyway, like they were gonna maybe blow themselves up or whatever?
I talk about that story all the time. I was in prison. I'm hanging out with the drug dealer. We're in his cell. And we had a guard. We were giving a guard $10,000 a month. A month. And he was bringing in dope. So
Yeah.
he's bringing in the dope. We corrupted him. So anyway. So he's in here, and so what happened is a buddy of mine, we're all in the cell, and we're hanging out with the drug dealer. Reno, he's crazy motherfucker, too, Latin King. I taught him how to be a bookie. He almost fucking killed the guy. I was the only one who could control him because he was a New Yorker, and he always liked the gangsters. So I taught him how to be a bookie. But he says a fucking straight killer. And they had 3 bodies. I think he got kicked out of 2 other penitentiaries. And I told him one time he's after these guys and he's gonna kill them, and he is. I said, Reno, these guys come to me, right? The shot call for these black guys from North Carolina come to me and say, La, you got to help us, man. Fucking Reno's crazy. I said, you fucked with that guy. I said, you motherfuckers are idiots. You owe him $40. Who the fuck thinks you could fucking beat that guy for $40? That guy will kill you for a fucking pack of cigarettes. And they know it. And he goes, I know, the guy fucked up. We'll take care. We'll double, triple, whatever. Can you do something? I go to Reno. His name's Reno. I say, Reno, hey, what's up? What do we got going? I'm telling you, when I had a fight with an Indian, and he wanted to kill everybody. He's crazy, motherfucker. Anyway, Reno goes to me. He goes, Larry, he goes, I'm going to kill that motherfucker. I said, I know, Reno. I know. Everybody knows you will. But do you like it here? We got the guard. Yeah, I love it, man. Look, we got the guy upstairs. We had a guard literally bring a package once a month. Bring it to your bed. And in it would be stuck with weed, and in that is heroin inside that. So that's what the big money is, you know. So, and I'm talking big money. I love acid. I don't know if you ever did acid in your life. I don't know what drugs they even have where you are.
I plead the fifth.
Do they even have them?
Oh no, Larry. What is drugs?
Anyway, Reno goes and sure enough, fucking we're in the cell and a guy comes in. I'll never forget this. He's about 50 years old at the time. I was about 40. And guy comes into the cell and says, hey Reno, I need 5 papers. 5 papers. Each paper of heroin is $25. Okay, each paper. Get you fucked up. Goes, hey Reno, I need 5 papers of heroin. Reno snapped his neck, and I did too, because we all know he owed money. You know, he owed money to all of us, or what, a little bit, but whatever. And I looked, I go, and I was with another guy. There were 3 of us in the cell at the time, and he came in. I looked at him, he looked at me, and we go, you know, we knew. And Reno looked at him and said, what did you say? And I'm like, oh, fuck. I don't know what's going to happen, right? And I don't want to witness no murder, because then you got to get investigated, all that bullshit. So, sure enough, fucking Reno says, the guy says to Reno, hey, Reno, I'm not paying you. What the fuck? He goes, I'm checking out. And boy, it hit me. You know, he goes, I lost all my appeals. I'm not living like this. And, you know, Reno gave him the 5 papers of heroin and said to him, right to his face, if you're not dead in the morning, I'm going to kill you. But he was dead in the morning. He died. And you talked about people losing hope. I saw that. It never happened to me because I had a date, they call it. I literally had a date. When you have a date, no matter what fucking date that is on that fucking envelope, because in the federal system in the United States of America, if you have the word life, it's literally letters on your prison jacket, they call it, and you die in prison. There's no way out until you die. There's no parole. There's no fucking clement, unless you get a pardon, of course, something like that. But and this guy checked out, and one other good friend of mine did that and told me he was going to kill himself, and did it. And boy, that hurt for a while. We were always crying for that one. I told you the guy with that 8-pack. You remember the black kid? I was talking through the vent earlier. I was telling you about the guy. He says to me, we're in the hole together. Now we're in there for a while now. And we used to do burpees together, workout routines, you know, really good. And he says, hey, brother, I love you, but I'm checking out. Where the fuck you going, motherfucker? You. Oh, I jump up on the stainless steel toilet and sink, and the vent is right up there. I literally, you can see him. You can't, but there's a little angle. But literally, it's like me talking to you right now. Literally. And I said, Reno, man, just lay down. I'll talk. See, this is count time. This was at 3:30 in the afternoon, maybe 3:45, because at 4 o'clock they do count time. Everybody in prison stands on their feet. And the reason they do that is because they counted one guy for 3 days dead. So in the Federal Bureau of Prisons, every single person is standing on their feet at 4 p.m. I don't care if you're in the hole or not, you're on your feet. And then once they go by your cell, you know, you lay down, whatever the fuck you want to do. So all of a sudden, 4 o'clock, I tell them, lay down, we'll talk about it after count, you know what I mean? And all of a sudden, count time. They say it, you know, you hear the chains and the doors opening, and they go by, see each cell, you know, and they just walk by fast. They count who's in there, and they go, you know what I mean? It's 2 of them, always. So the one guy walks by my cell, counts, next stops at the next cell, and he hits his deuces. The deuces on a radio in prison. The guy has a radio. There's an orange button on every radio. That's called the deuces. The reason they call it the deuces is because any phone in prison you hit with 222, they all come running. It's like, that's an alarm. That's like hitting an alarm. 222. on any phone. So they call it the deuces. Anyway, guard hit the deuces, said man down. My buddy who just told me he was going to kill himself killed himself. And the reason I know he died is because they recount. In prison, when somebody dies or leaves that facility, they have to recount. And that count has to go to Washington, D.C. It's called a national count. So the Federal Bureau of Prisons knows exactly how many people. I think it's 200 and some odd thousand. They know every motherfucker and is sent to Washington. And that is an official count for that day. And they have to recount if somebody dies or gets taken out of prison for some reason, whatever reason. And he died. And man, I'll never forget, you know, and I'm not religious at all. I'm spiritual, if you want to call it that. Even, you know, I mean, listen, there's no God telling me I can't jerk off in fucking the sky. You know what I mean? Stopped all that bullshit with me. I don't know. I've read the Bible 5 times, cover to cover, as a book. Not many people have done that. I've read the Quran 3 times as a book. I've read Buddhist books. I've read the Torah. And the reason I read those books is because in some prisons you're in, if you're in the hole, they'll only give you a religious book. That's it. So I've learned, and I could sit here and quote the Bible, and there's so much bullshit in all these books, but there's all good shit too. I mean, I treat everybody with respect, because on the way up, you're gonna meet them on the way down. You know, you never know when you're gonna meet someone when the person, and it is so true. I've made deals that people remembered me when they were, you know, a kid, and I helped them, and all of a sudden they came back and said, Larry, man, you're always respectful. Let's do this deal. I'm the one who owns this company now. And the guys that clean the shoes and guys that are taking care of us, they all love when I come in there. Because I not only treat them right, you know, take care of them and help them out, money or whatever, give them cigars. I own a cigar company. Did you know that?
Of course. I did my homework, Larry. What the fuck?
I'm going to never stop being like, I will never stop being like that. Usha, if there's one way I can say this is, I am in the present right now. I'm enjoying myself talking to you and having a great conversation with you about various topics, various things. And I am present. I don't want to be anywhere right now. I don't want to be in that production line. I don't want to be in the fucking set over here. I don't want to be in an RV. I don't want to be at Disney fucking World. People need to be more present in their lives instead of just, you know, rubber stamping shit. But I don't live for everybody else. I live a pretty happy life, so.
Yeah, and also this it's what you think what you said about basically treating everyone the same and being respectful. I think today we have a problem with people, like people are not responsible for what they say anymore. And I think the reason why we are so free with words, because words are responsibility, but we've forgotten about that, is because we live in a very safe environment where whatever, if you say something, like nothing happens, and you see that online. Do you know what I mean? Where like in prison, the stakes are so high, you cannot afford to be disrespectful to someone.
That's true respect. And I don't care how big or tough you think you are. There was a friend of ours, he got his anus cut from the top of his anus all the way to his scrotum, and they raped him. 2 guys took a razor blade, cut his ass from his ass all the way to his balls. No, it's not about sex. It's about dominance, about control. 0 to do with sex. He gets a hard on for it, this guy, whatever he is. But I mean, I heard him, and how could someone do that if someone's crying for their life? I mean, I read the report. I mean, this ain't bullshit. This is first-hand shit. I heard the screamings. I remember they closed the tier down, you know, lockdown and all that shit. And we know we couldn't get to the second tier to help them, you know, and they came running. And now we're locked in for the night. Next morning, you know, I never, ever slept past 6 a.m. because that's where they're going to get you. When they open those doors, if you're sleeping nice, comfy, that door's open, how do you know you didn't piss someone off the night before? Not even knowing it. You might have been walking down the tier, and you look in a cell, and there's a guy fucking another guy, a guy doing heroin in his arm, a guy hiding shit. Whatever the fuck they're doing, they do it. The days go on in prison. It's a real world. That guy's already psycho. He looks by, he goes, oh, Lawton's gonna steal my fucking dope. Or Lawton's gonna fucking steal my guy, you know, or his girl, whatever the fuck it is. And I have not a clue. I don't even remember it at all. But the next morning, he's up at 6 a.m. He knows you sleep till 9, 8, or whatever the fuck it is. He's gonna come in and fucking jab you. I seen it happen. I seen it happen in the shower too. Guys don't know the fucking environment they're in, and they go to the shower, and the guy walks there with his flip flops and all this shit. 3 guys will watch him go up there with nothing. They go in there and fucking stab him up. They stab him up with a fucking shank. Guy laid down, blood was going down the whole fucking tier because his body covered the drain. You don't know the environment you're in, and it's not that anybody did anything. It's that you're dealing with a lot of psychopaths too, real psychopaths. Forget, looking it up and seeing how I'm a psychopath, maybe, tendencies or whatever. I'm talking about people who are certified psychopaths. Listen, I often talk about this. Out of the 880 lifers, 200 fight their case legally. 400, 500 get a lover, go about, they go to work, they go to what they call unicorn, they come home, they call them punks or whatever, they do it. I had this punk that used to do my laundry and clean my cell named Goldie. Black guy, about 50. Wore his t-shirt, when you get a t-shirt up like that. I used to give her a book of stamps to clean my cell and a book of stamps to do my laundry.
Do the really good-looking guys have it harder in prison or easier?
It depends on how they carry themselves. Everything is about how you carry yourself. They took one guy, he had 10-year sentence, right? And they killed this guy. He was short timer, they call it. He had a 10-year sentence, and he had about 2 years left, something like that, a year and a half. They put him in a cell with 2 other lifers. They all got drunk, drinking, and they killed him, and they cut his intestines out and put his intestines around the window of the door. I've seen some fucking crazy people do crazy fucking shit. I watched a punk, they call them punks, take a bucket of water. We used to cook with a paint bucket. We used to get a 5-gallon paint bucket, cut it down, and it'd be this high, and it fit right in the microwave. You could boil water, cook, whatever, it was great. I watched the punk take a bucket like that, fill it with water, put olive oil in it, and a Snicker bar, and boiled it, and threw it in this guy's face. And his face was melting off his fucking body. He was fucking screaming so bad. They had to medevac him with a helicopter. Medevac this guy with a helicopter. You fuck with the wrong punk. You don't fuck with punks in prison. They're fucking vicious. Listen, human beings can do a lot of things. We know that. Getting back to your question. Good-looking guy, if he knows how to handle himself, he'll handle himself the right way. And hook up with an old-timer, if you want to call it hook up. But it does happen. It's normal. Sex is normal. How do you tell men you're never going to fucking... I was put in a hole. I don't know if you can read. This is a great case. I was put in a hole for masturbating. And they put me in the hole. It took... Matter of fact, I'll never forget it because I'm in my cell. I was alone. I had a single cell at the time. And the guards already passed. They counted. It's 12 o'clock. They counted 12. I'm reading a porno magazine, You used to have to rent them in prison. Rent them. So I had a porno magazine, do my business, I'm laying in my bed and looking at myself. Now, in penitentiaries, even your cell door has what they call a chute door, where they put the food through. The food goes through your slot. They said, lock up. When they said lock up, you have to come to that chute door. You turn around, you put your hands behind your back, put your hands through the chute. They cuff you, and now they'll open the door. Because they're not allowed to open that door unless you're cuffed. At certain times, certain things, especially in the hole going there. So there's a Lawton, lock up. I'm thinking, what the fuck did I do? What did I do? I'm thinking, listen, I'm into everything. I was a hustler,
Yeah, which one of the crimes did they caught up on? There's a variety of things to choose from.
I was a hustler. If that, you know what I mean? A hustler. You understand. You could understand that. So I fucking go down, and in the hole they put you in it looks like a telephone booth, but it's a cage, just a fucking cage to strip you out. They always strip you, lift you. Listen, I lifted my nuts and spread my ass so many times. It's sad because I lost, like, you lose that dignity, you know? I could strip naked right here. I've been on Con Air 16 or 20 times. Con Air. So, I mean, I've been, so my point is, I lost that. But anyway, they strip you out. So the lieutenant comes up to me. He goes, "Hey, Lawton, had a good time tonight?" I said, "The fuck are you talking about, LT?" He goes, jerking off in your cell?" I said, "So?" "Well, they wrote you up for it." "What? You gave me an prison infraction for masturbating. I'm not fucking anybody. I'm masturbating in my cell alone, and you gave me and they took 28 days of good time. I sued the prison. It's in there. You can Google it. I sued the prison. What happened was they started putting me on the airplane and fucking transfer me all over the fucking country so I would lose my paperwork. But I kept on top of it. So the reason it was dismissed, I dismissed it after they changed the law. They don't put you in the hole for that anymore. They changed now in prison. They're not going to put you in the hole unless you're doing it on a guard or use something like, that's outwardly. First of all, it's a known fact that isolation is the worst thing you can do to a human being. We are social animals, period. You, me, we are social beings. We need connection with other human beings. If we don't, you go crazy. I literally was going crazy. I watched a man who is I knew him on the yard, he's a normal guy, regular guy. He was in the hole for extended periods of time like I was, and he went crazy.
How are you justifying robberies though on a daily basis? And actually,
I wasn't justifying.
you were justifying. What I'm saying is like people that live the criminal life, right? Some people are really suited to it, but they're not really fighting like they're not fighting the law only. They're like fighting their own psychology because like at some point the fear of stopping becomes greater than the fear of getting caught. Like it's the lifestyle kind of rewires your sense of risk until the danger feels normal, and the normal almost feels dangerous. So because you always knew you're going to get caught, right? I mean, realistically there are only two ways out: either you die or you get caught, and there's no getting away with it in the long run. So obviously you didn't think about that every single day, otherwise you wouldn't do it if that's the time when I get caught. But how did you deal with that mentally? Like, did you push it back, like to the back of your mind? Did you perform like a daily amnesia where you almost numb yourself to this realization? And because once you're that deep into it, at that stage, I think this is where most criminals know this, and they actually double down, which is, or unfortunately, that leads to a lot of them getting caught. But fortunately, but how did you deal with this knowledge? I mean, obviously, you had to have this knowledge, right? Like you knew, like this is gonna end at some point.
Sure, I'm not an idiot. I mean, nothing lasts forever, no matter what it is. Period. It doesn't even have to be crime. Well, I grew up in the crime. See, I grew up I was 12 years old when I started being a bookmaker. A bookmaker is a person who takes gambles. I remember in 1972, 72, 73, I was making $125 a week as a kid, 12 years old, by hustling tickets on, football tickets, gambling tickets, they call them here.
By the way, guys, that is about 3,000 a month today, making as 12-year-old.
Is that what it is? I didn't even know what that number was.
It is indeed. Yes. Anyway, yeah, go ahead.
I was making $125 because it was about hustling, working hard, going to the door. I was never scared of the work aspect, and I always knew. A lot of people think, "Oh, you're a criminal." I worked hard as a criminal. I mean, that's just what I was. I was with the organized crime. So I was with the mobsters and the wise guys that I knew, John Gotti, and I knew all those people. And it's a cutthroat, vicious bill. And I try to tell kids who work for me now, you have no idea what's going to happen next. You could try to prepare for it. But guess what? No matter how much you prepare, it's going to throw you a curveball because it's supposed to. It's supposed to test you and push you, because if it doesn't, then how boring of a life does people live? It's going to really sound fucked up, but I think women are just coming to the forefront of where they belong.
And the kitchen.
No,
Sorry.
not at all.
Sorry. No, you got it. No, anyway, it was a joke, everybody. It was a joke. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, okay.
Okay, well, at least one of them in the kitchen. No, I think women have more to give. I've done everything you can think of in most things in life. And here's what I try to give young people to. You're 30 years old, boy. You're at a prime of your life. You're not even at the prime yet. You're really not. You're going to be here soon. And obviously, you're very intelligent. Obviously, I think you got a hell of a future ahead of you. Whatever it is. And don't let anybody tell you different on that. You belong here, you belong there. Fuck you. You belong where you're going, period. And that's the end of that. And I wish I had a woman who's more independent like you seem when I was coming up. But I think it was just the time and the era I grew up in. Listen, I take care of my mom. I don't know if you know that. I take care of my mom. She's 93 years old. And I promised her I'd do it. And what I mean is I'm not going to...
Okay, you talked about your childhood a little bit. Did you, now looking back, did you notice any psychopathic traits in you as a child?
That's a great question. Do I think there was psychopathic tendencies? I think everybody has some psychopathic tendencies. I think that's the only reason we're able to do what we do. That's the only way we're able to shoot someone didn't do anything to you. He literally had nothing to do. He got up in the morning, he had his breakfast, goes to seeing his wife, and you're going to shoot him and kill him. That's psychopathic tendencies right there. Why do we do that? Because somebody said he's going to do that. I lived through the Cold War and with the Russians and how we used to board Russian fishing boats when I was in the Coast Guard. And what I've learned there was it's all bullshit. Both sides, United States, Russia, wherever you're from, does not matter. There's so much fucking gaslighting and so much propaganda that I don't believe it anymore, but a lot of you, I did when I was younger. But I think we all have to have a little bit of psychopath in us. Psychopath? I don't know. I hope to think I'm not a psychopath.
It's a very interesting label, because I did the hair test for psychopathy, and my score was like 28 or something, which it does borderline psychopathy. But the thing is that, as you said, we all have a dark side to us. But I think what distinguishes some people is because you combine this dark side and you're not ashamed of it, and then you complement it with not caring about the rules too much. And now, make no mistake, we all have a weak side also, because I know you have some experience with torturing people. And I think that, is it true that at a certain point, everybody talks? Like, and all that tough guy shit goes out the window at some point?
Let me tell you something. I tell this to everybody. And I know this. If I want something from you and you have it, there isn't a chance in this world you don't give it to me. Being, I am not under any laws, so to speak, like government rules or whatever I'm worried about. If I want what I want from you, I'll get it. And I tell everybody, listen, if you get me, the tough guy shit, here, what do you want? Here, Hey, here's my money. Here's my asshole. What do you want? I don't give a fuck what you want. You got it. Listen, I was in the military for 8 years, almost 8 years. A few months before 8 years, I got retired because of my back. I have a very bad back. I crushed my spine in the service. I fell out in the Bering Sea, out in Alaska, actually boarding, I think it was a Maru, which is Japanese fishing trawlers, big factory ships. And, you know, I've been around a lot of people, and you know it's scary. It's the ones you don't expect to be the psychopaths that become the psychopaths. It's more like that's something that comes. Listen, they're psychopath. Maybe there's even levels to psychopath. I don't know. You would know more than me. I'm sure you did a little more studying than I did on that. But I do know that there's some sick people that would like shoot up a school. I don't know if you know, when I was in the hole, I was concussion grenaded, I was shocked, I was maced, I went nuts in the hole, and they abused me, and what I learned was these are great, but they don't work all the time. I couldn't beat them. You got 5 guys coming into you with gear and electric shocks and I remember breaking my hand twice. I'm punching a face mask. Now, what idiot does that? That's an idiot who's not thinking. Once I started thinking and really applying what I have for a brain, the world changed. The system changed. They feared me more. The system feared me more. I had a guard, or actually an OSHA investigator, come to my cell. I'm in the hole and say, "Hey, Lawton, I don't know what's going on, but they're talking about you up in the warden's office. Man, I don't know what you're doing." I was fucking with them hard enough that I fucked with them enough that they were going to make changes. And they eventually, in the United States, more so than anywhere, people just don't know their rights. We have a constitution in the United States. They don't know it.
To say something about that, I think you could tell a lot about a society by how they treat their prisoners and their elderly, and especially about how they treat their elderly prisoners.
They actually say any society should be judged on 3 things: how it treats its elderly, how it treats its incarcerated, and how it treats its sick, infirmed. How we treat those 3 levels of people should say a lot about a society. I've seen the bullshit in the United States. I've seen the bullshit in life, so to speak. I don't know. I could curse on your podcast, I guess, right?
Oh, you can do whatever you want here. You can light your ass on fire. This is a very open pot. You curse all you want, man.
Human beings are just that. Human beings. We are fallible. We are people make mistakes, number one, or people are just inherently evil. And sometimes the people who wear that badge are evil. And just because a person puts on a uniform, just because a person works for the federal government in the United States or whatever government you're in or wherever, it doesn't make them right.
No, but you're right about just the compassionate part. I think that especially in prison, you have predators and you have prey, right? If you are, and I guess outside you can also say you have predators and prey, just personality wise. It doesn't mean you're going to beat somebody up. It just, you can do it elegantly. But there are still 2 types of people. That when you say you're compassionate, I think it's an even bigger statement when you are capable of violence, but you chose not to do it, as opposed to not do it because you're incapable anyway, right? And I think also there's something about, you mentioned inequality and violence. I'm not sure if it's the United States in specifically, probably not, but there is something about us that we just like violence, because when you look at death row and death penalty, it just seems that people in institutions, the society of which the institutions are an image of, we just enjoy it for some reason, because it's not a deterrent, that's for sure. The death row is definitely not a deterrent, just like a security guard in a shopping mall is not a deterrent for shoplifters. I don't think it really has a purpose, but just if you look at how brutal we still are, like in South Carolina, by the way, everybody, the inmates could actually choose between lethal injection and electric chair and firing squad. Like you can literally pick your own firing squad. We have this brutal dark side to us. Every one of us has this kind of, and it could be that a society is just like what would you say, like a macro version of everyone's personality. You are a really lucky person for not being in prison for life. You know that, right? And because you really could be. And for some reason you're not. It's like you had a purpose for whatever you're doing now. And I really like stories like yours. That's why I said I have to have you on the show, because you're one of those people that, these people that really have a reason to be bitter. Like if you look at their lives, they really have a reason to be resentful. And I'm saying a reason, not an excuse, but a reason. And people like you, I like how you were able to turn that around, right? Because what's interesting is that people who justify their bitterness, I know you have some trauma from your childhood and stuff like that, but they don't really understand that resentment is very heavy, right? And responsibility is very light, which is something you're doing now. It really flows, right? And I see you like it. And when someone chooses growth instead of grievance, it's rarely because their past was easy, but it's because they understand that carrying this anger actually destroys the carrier, not the cause, right? So like the moment someone realizes that bitterness is an anchor, not an armor, everything kind of starts to move again. And I see this with you, because as I said, you could be very bitter.
You're a very intelligent woman. I'm not just saying it because of what you said. I'm saying it because
I am a philosopher, self-employed philosopher.
I'll tell you what what you said is very true. And I'll tell you why it's true, because I had a judge friend of mine, a very close friend, a sitting judge. He's still a judge to this day. It's amazing. At one point, all these people were after me. Now we're friends. But it's ironic that he said to me one day, he says, Larry, I know what you've been through. We've vetted you. The courts have vetted you. The networks have vetted you. Agencies, Congress, you've been recognized on Congress. And, what you've been through is more than 99.99% of all people and stuff. I said, no, David, I don't have a right to be bitter, like you say. Bitterness kills. What I do is I try to take whatever happened to me, and everybody has this, you as well, everybody, and turn that into a life lesson so somebody else doesn't have to go through what I went through. Strapped down naked, beaten and tortured for 11 straight months, every month being taken out, strapped down, beaten and bruised, broken ribs, and strapped naked on a slab. And you lose your dignity. You lose who you are. I went crazy. I'm not, I had a rope around my neck and I was seconds away from killing myself. And it wasn't because of the time I had to do. The will to live is amazing. Everybody knows that. Why do people on death row and the worst of the worst in Korea or in North Korea, wherever, and put up with that without just ending it. And it wasn't that, because I was abused before. I understand that. In fact, sometimes the abuse was life. You felt alive when things were happening. But what really makes everything worth it, or if you want to call it worth it, nothing's worth what you go through. But if I could help somebody not go through what I went through or make them a better person for it, I don't know why I survived that and I didn't pull that, didn't. All I had to do was literally put my body weight down and I would have been dead in 30 seconds. You lose your air, then you suffocate in prison. People think you can hang, you have to hang. You don't hang. You just can go off the edge of a chair right here. You just lay your weight down on your neck and it goes up and it cuts your air off, and 30 seconds later, you're no oxygen to the brain, and before you know, you're dead. I mean, literally in a couple of minutes. So I was there because I didn't have a date, if that made sense. They kept saying I was under investigation. Now, if you're in prison, and I was in maximum security prisons, if you're in prison and you have a fight or something happens and you go to what they call a DHO, disciplinary hearing officer. When you go in front of that officer, he gives you 60 days in the hole or the shoe, special housing unit. I love that one. What's special about it? And so they put you in the hole, and when they put you in the hole with a date, nothing can bother me. It didn't matter to me. But if you give me no date, and just say investigation, and then on and on and on. I remember, the warden every Friday they would walk by the cells and see how you're doing, and you what they call your unit team, the captain, unit manager, counselors. How you doing? How the fuck you think I'm doing, you assholes? I'm in fucking prison. I'm in the hole. I'm in the worst of the worst, and you're asking me how I'm doing. How about you switch spots with me, and we'll see how you're fucking doing. This is the warden. I used to get I tell him, get the fuck away from my door. I mean, I don't care who you are. You're at the low of low in life, the low of low. And when you're at that point in life, you do realize a few things. One, you realize what you can endure. I had my friend kill himself in front of me and tell me he was going to do it and do it. And it hits me sometimes when I'm not even thinking about it. I'm working out or something. I'm doing something, and I'll tell you what, man. Those little things hit you, and hey, listen, I survived it. Everybody can survive. You don't know what you're able to survive until you survive it.
You were talking about wanting to commit suicide, and I remember a few years ago, I was at down point in my life also, and I was at a shooting range. I held my gun and I was shooting, and I went to shooting range to just forget about everything, right? And I remember just aiming and thinking like, fuck, like I could just turn this gun around in my mouth and it would all be done. It would take a few seconds and everything would be done. And and what and in the millisecond I decided against it because number one, I thought, okay, well, I can always one thing about suicide is that you can always do it tomorrow. You can always postpone it. It's a very good thing to postpone. And the second was because I figured, yeah, that's when you should procrastinate, that's for sure. And the second thing was there was this feeling of hope, of potential. What if, right? What if? And did you have the same feeling? What actually made you decide to not commit the suicide?
First of all, I started embracing hardship or challenge more than anything. I think I put myself in right now challenges where I have to do something or I have to make it succeed or I want to push myself. I think when young people see, I get too many young people come to me and they say, "Hey, Larry, I love your inspiration. I love you this." And the minute they fail at something, it's, oh, my life's over. I love to help young people. I love to help people. And, I was a millionaire 3 times over, meaning make it, lose it, make it, lose it, make it, whatever. I don't look at money like I used to. I had a lot of it. I had a limousine with driver and money, and nothing mattered. And then when you don't have it, wow, there was a really nice feeling to that as well. So there's no decision making, who you got to piss off, what family, whatever, whatever limits or whatever you are.
I also noticed that whenever you have a hardship or a problem or something, even when we talked before, like the bitterness, this feeling of resentfulness, it's like you have this energy now and you can dwell in it or you can use this energy and transform it into something better. Like there's something you have, right? Everything is energy. So it's up to you with what you're going to do with it. And you mentioned, way before you mentioned the whole everybody all the listeners who don't know, the whole is basically in solitary confinement in the prison where they put you in, and people suffer a lot because it's actually not very nice. Do you know they always say you get institutionalized in prison.
Oh, there's no question. Everybody does.
What are some signs that someone is getting institutionalized, and after how long of being in the prison actually?
Okay, first of all, for anybody who does a lot of time, like, first of all, when you go to prison, it takes 2 years before you even settle in. Settle in. Well, Well, you got to do a lot of time like I did. You have to settle in, and you don't get settled for 2 years. You got to put there's an old saying, you got to put that free world over here because it'll drive you crazy, but you can't forget it either.
When you look back at the moment when you first chose crime, because there's these type of people, myself included, that we just gravitate towards crime. Like the 9 to 5 job just doesn't cut it. Like you look at a palette of choices that person is going to choose from as their career, and all of them are going to be illegal. So when you look back at the moment when you chose this crime, do you see it as like a conscious decision or something that had already been decided for you long before you realized it because of your lifestyle and mentality and or childhood or something? Do you know what I mean?
100%. Great question too. I don't get that question too much. And I pretty much had them all, but that's a very good question. I am not a person who is the norm. I am not a rule follower, so to speak. They call them trailblazers. I'm more of a trailblazer than I am a line follower. Listen, everybody needs workers. Not everybody can own the business. Not everybody can be the boss. If you have a factory, somebody's got to run the machines, whatever it is, whatever you do, there's people who gravitate towards the leadership roles. Crime is a leadership role because you are doing everything out of the norm and everything's got to be planned. The FBI said to me, they go, Larry, you're the best we've ever seen do it. Why didn't you quit? Why didn't you quit? You had millions of dollars. You didn't care. Money was nothing. And why didn't I quit? But the FBI used to say to me, they said, Larry, we can't get anybody to testify against you. They didn't. Did you get 1.2 million out of that store? He said. I said, nah, I got about 850 out of that store. He starts laughing. This is the head of the FBI. And he goes, well, they put down 1.2 million. I said, good for them. They made money. So they made insurance money. Everybody, so everybody made money.
Fuck yeah.
Who did not like me, obviously, was the insurance companies because I was caught for number 4. They hated me. And I never hurt innocence. I hate to say, listen, everybody justifies their life in whatever way you did. I'm sure you justify your life in whatever ways. And that's quite okay. And it's good, in fact. But when you justify your life, it has to be for some reason to be justified. Who are you justifying it to? I don't give a fuck about a lot of what people think. People go, Larry, you really don't give a fuck. Go fuck yourself. They're not fucking paying my rent. They're not jerking me off. They're not doing what the fuck what are they doing for me? What do I give a fuck? So
you started as an earner when you joined the Mafia. Well, you were an earner in the Mafia family. And I think that's true now for pretty much every company or business. Like there is a structure, there's a certain rules that you have to follow, and that's the same for everyone. But if you make them a lot of money, like oftentimes rules can be bent. That's what I saw in the agency. And things sometimes become possible that would not be otherwise. Me also, otherwise in the civil life, I'm actually a real estate agent. And just fucking hilarious. But I can, I can party at 4 a.m. But at 7 a.m., I'm the most professional person. When we have a meeting, like you couldn't tell. And even if sometimes you slip, like if you make a lot of money in the Mafia, when you made them a lot of money, did they bend the rules because of you? Like, are there certain privileges that you didn't have? Because it's all about money. Let's make no mistakes, right? Once you make the money, the door's open.
100%.
So, okay, that was a great chat. Tell us, where can people find you?
Hey, I had a buddy who used to rob the Hasidic Jews. You know what a Hasidic Jew is?
Hasidic Jew? That's the worst insult ever. Hasidic Jew. What?
No, it's not derogatory. Hasidic Jews are the guys that have...
Hasidic Jew. Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah.
Well, they take their diamonds to the temple to bless them. So I had a friend who used to rob them.
All right, well, we came to the end of the podcast.